This is Edge of the Box, a podcast brought to you by WhoScored.com.
Hello, welcome back to the Edge of the Box podcast, a podcast by WhoScored.com in association with BetVictor. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined as ever by Jonathan Wilson and Martin Lawrence from WhoScored itself. Jonathan, we'll start with you. Award nominated, I saw this week. I've already voted for you. Martin's already voted for you, so that's 2 votes.
Glad to hear it. If everybody else could vote for me, that would be tremendous. Football Supporters Association. I don't know where you find it. I mean, I can post a link on Twitter, but vote Wilson.
Yeah. Who you up against? I did look. I can't remember.
Don't worry about him. Don't worry about it.
People. Well, Miguel Delaney, most importantly. As long as I beat Miguel, it doesn't really matter.
Bizarrely, Edge of the Box was not among the podcast nominees, which is an absolute shambles. So.
I mean, I do about 1,000 podcasts.
The Guardian,
I've not been nominated for anything.
And that's been nominated, so you can vote for me twice. That'd be great.
That's true, yeah.
You want to vote for the Guardian as well, so I can do the treble? That would also be lovely.
I think actually that one, the Guardian one, is up against another podcast that I sometimes appear on, so I can't vote for that one. I'm afraid.
You're not one of the total scum, are you?
That's me.
I'm abstaining from the podcast.
Yeah, but as Martin, we've not been nominated for anything individually, though. Probably a surprise to many people watching this podcast that we've not been nominated for any individual awards.
It is. It's nuts.
Shocking.
There's just ruins the legitimacy of the awards completely, I think. But there we go. Good luck, Jonathan, though.
Yeah, we do want
Thank you very much.
Team Jonathan
to win. Have you won before? Have you won that award before?
Twice, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
But there was also, it should be said, there was a long time when I couldn't be nominated because the Blizzard, which at the time I owned, was sponsored by always had a partnership with the FSA.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've won it twice and also couldn't be nominated for about 6 years. So,
WhoScored
obviously would have won it all those 6 times had I.
WhoScored have won it once, the best independent website. Many moons ago now, unfortunately, but yeah, we do have an award from them.
I've got 0 awards. I've been nominated for awards before, but I've never won jackal, so that's
keep
good.
Getting on every podcast. Surely something.
Yeah, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Next year's my year. I'm aiming to do a podcast a week. I'll be there. Let's do this podcast instead of talking about awards. So we've got the team of the week for the Champions League, Martin. Is that true?
We do.
Have I got that right? Or have I made a mistake immediately?
No.
Which is why I get nominated for nothing.
We do. We'll start with that. I'd love to see your attempt at pronouncing the goalkeeper. And this is a contentious selection for sure. It is Odysseus Vlachodimos of Benfica, who conceded 5 goals against Bayern Munich. But that game could have been an absolute, well, it was a whitewash, but it could have been horrific for Benfica. He made 7 saves in that game, including a penalty save. So he just edges his way into the team of the week, despite.
I mean, come on, that penalty save, like literally, my Ilex was just blown away. And had to go and chase after would have saved that penalty.
In a statistical rating, it just goes down as penalty saved, unfortunately. But yeah, I agree. The back 4, Trent Alexander-Arnold, 2 assists in that game. He played very well. Is having a sensational season in general. Max Wöber is partnered by Marquinhos at centre back. And João Cancelo at left back. He's the first player to get 3 assists in a Champions League game in over 2 years since Angel Di Maria. Both of those instances against poor old Club Bruges. In midfield, we have Chiesa on the right, Pedro Gonçalves in the middle with Marcelo Brozovic, who we'll probably come on to a bit later. Vinicius Junior on the left, also having a sensational season, a real sort of coming-of-age season. Him and Benzema have certainly made up. After their sort of fallout, was it last season? They've actually had a direct hand in each other's goals 6 times this season. He assisted both of Benzema's goals this week. And the strike force, there's no Ronaldo again. It seems like we're bullying Ronaldo on this show. It doesn't need to be. It is.
What does he need to do?
I know. Well, he needs to get an assist along with his goals, basically, because Dybala scored twice and got an assist, and Lewandowski got a hat-trick and got an assist. So that's the strike force. Ronaldo, for what it's worth, I think he was the 5th or 6th highest rated player in the tournament this week, but just can't get his way into our team of the week.
He certainly loved it. I mean, he's always loved the Champions League, to be fair, but since he's rocked up at Manchester United, he's scoring every single time, single-handedly keeping their Champions League campaign alive. I believe we've got a Premier League team of the month as well, Martin, which you have confidently said we don't need to spend long on this because Jonathan will like it.
Yeah, I am confident. I'm almost expecting a round of applause, to be honest. This is already out on social media, has done done good numbers on social media, so that's why I'm only just going to touch upon it. Just want to get Jonathan's thoughts. So it's Aaron Ramsdale in goal, and then it's an entire back four made up of Chelsea, Reece James, Trevor Chalobah, Thiago Silva and Ben Chilwell. The midfield three, I think you'll like the balance as well. Kovacic, Rice and Tielemans. And then the front three is Salah on the right, Smith Rowe on the left and Firmino up front. Applause away.
Yes,
good. Yes.
I mean,
come on.
There's obviously a major doubt there, which is you picked 4 Chelsea players who used to play in a 5 in a 4.
Yeah.
So there's my first quibble, but it has some kind of balance, which it's a long time since I've been able to say that. So
I haven't been able to celebrate much lately, so I will take that for sure.
I can feel Garth Crooks leaving the room.
that midfield would be difficult to play against, I would say.
It's a good midfield.
It's a good midfield. Yeah. I like the midfield.
That would be really difficult to play against. Let's touch base with Sam Boswell from BetVictor then early on. Let's get it done early in the show this week. Change it up, Martin. So let's go and speak to Sam about the Manchester Derby, and then we'll come back and preview the Manchester Derby ourselves. Sam, welcome. Good to see you as always. We're going to start off this week with something a little bit different. I understand we've got some free bets to give away and that this is actually going to be a weekly thing.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit different. Started last week, and all you guys need to do to get involved is just type Rafinha in the comments, because he's our selected player to get a shot from outside the box. I think the stat is he's had 2 of these in his last 5 games and should hopefully do a good job for Leeds. He's a player I really like as well, and we're giving away the opportunity for you guys to win some bets. The more shots he has from outside the box, the more bets we'll give away.
So if he doesn't have any shots from outside the box, we'll give away Jackal.
Yep,
basically.
But we're confident. Come on, Dan, let's be positive here.
I'm just asking.
He's going to have a few shots, isn't he? Let's be honest. He's a great player for Leeds, and he's certainly one I enjoy watching. I know he's been in and out of my fantasy team this season for that very reason. Without Patrick Bamford, I think he's had the opportunity to get a little bit more of his shooting boots on, and fingers crossed we can try and give away some free bets.
Yeah, he's definitely the main man for Leeds. Really great player to watch. The main game this weekend is the Manchester Derby, Sam. What have BetVictor got going on for that?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Obviously, Saturday lunchtime should be a great game. It's really amazing, isn't it, to think that these teams, in terms of the table, aren't as far apart as I think I'd have thought they would be, given what's gone on so far this season. United 18-5 to get the win at home, 3-1 the draw, which looks a big price to me. I think United might just get something here. 4-6 for City to do what I think most people would expect. They're the right favourites for many reasons. Boost-wise, we've got loads already on the site. If you think Cristiano Ronaldo is going to really turn up and make this a hell of a game, which I think he could well do, boosted him to score 2 or more, 21-2. Obviously, Ronaldo seems to have kept Oli single-handedly in a job so far this season. I could quite easily see him having a big game. Phil Foden, if you think he's going to be the key man for City, 9-5 to score any time. I actually prefer this bet, though. Foden to be shown a card, 13-2, boosted from 5-1. I can see that being. I can see there being a few cards in this one, a little bit of a feisty affair. Loads of stuff on the site for it. Obviously, it's going to be a fantastic game. We have the usual stat markets, player markets. You've got your bet builders on there. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys think about the game as well. But loads going on for it. And it should be, I think, a real exhibition of football. And I can see goals. I don't know about yourself.
I said there wasn't going to be goals the last time we talked about Manchester United, and that was against Liverpool. And I was completely wrong. So I think it's best I'm just saying nothing, which isn't great for a podcast. But I'm just saying nothing on this occasion.
Yeah, there were no Manchester United goals. The other thing I must mention, Dan, before I go, is it is Safer Gambling Week this week. And it's something we take incredibly seriously all year round, but it's a really good opportunity for us to highlight just some of the tools that exist, not just on BetVictor's site, but on a lot of bookmakers' sites or opportunities. A lot of people are aware that you can self-exclude if you feel like you have a problem, but we also have measures that will help people keep their gambling responsible. For example, you have deposit limits, which mean that you'll have a set amount each week, month that you can play through, and then after that you won't be able to deposit anymore. We have the option of timeouts if you want a shorter break, which is able just to take you away from gambling for a period of time. Timeout options, those kind of things are all there. Profit loss trackers, everything to ensure that your gambling stays fun. Like I say, Safer Gambling Week isn't just a week we talk about safer gambling and ignore it. It's the opportunity to start the conversation around keeping your gambling fun and making sure that if you do feel like you're developing any form of problem, the opportunity there is to take a break, step away, or self-exclude.
Thanks ever so much. Really, really important stuff, that, Sam. You can get back to whatever it is you're doing. Looks very nice where you are. So have a great day, mate.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing the rest of the cast and hearing what you guys are going for this week.
So, yeah, the Saturday lunchtime game is the big one. It's the Manchester derby, Manchester United versus Manchester City at Old Trafford. United won a game last week, Jonathan, quite comfortably. I mean, it was against a very, very poor Spurs side, but Solskjaer stumbled upon a workable system. Well, it worked in the Premier League. I'm not sure it worked as well in midweek. I would say that system was a week late. I should have done that against Liverpool. But still, it worked.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. That it sort of was Solskjaer going back to what he does well, and the thing he does well as a manager is to set up a team not to concede. We saw last season the 6 games they played against Liverpool, City, and Chelsea. They kept 5 clean sheets, and you have to give them credit for that. So, although they didn't do that with the back 3 necessarily last season, it was a way of regaining that solid base while keeping Ronaldo in the side. The question going forward is, can you do that when it's pretty hard? I think you can fit Rashford in there, maybe Greenwood in there, but you're going to always be leaving at least one of them out, and Cavani. And where does Pogba fit in there? Pogba playing on Tuesday night. Although he was good going forwards, and it was his layoff that led to the McTominay shot that hit the post. He kept giving the ball away, and he left holes there. And that was a major problem, certainly in Atlanta's first goal. And then Sancho, there's just no place at all for Sancho. There's no winger in that side. So you've spent 73 million quid on a player you've spent 2 years chasing, and you've devised a system that has no space for him. So, critical as I've been of Solskjaer, I think there's always been an awareness there that there are bigger issues at the club. He's something I think needs to change if United are ever to challenge for the title again. But he's not the only thing that needs to change. Do
you think he'll go Cavani again, Jonathan? Cavani and Ronaldo against City? Or do you think he will bring Rashford in?
I don't know. I mean, he could do either. I think the logic of playing Rashford against Atalanta was that they press so high, there's likely to be space in behind them. So his pace, not that Cavani's slow, but Rashford's pace is exceptional. And I think maybe there was a thought that could give him an option there. City, we know, can be vulnerable on the counter, and Solskjaer's record against Guardiola is pretty good, and that has been on the counter. So I would say probably Rashford, but then Cavani's movement is so good, and the link up with Ronaldo last week, certainly in the second half, was so good that you think maybe that's the way they'll want to go. I think the bigger issues at the other end, particularly with Varane being out and still a doubt over Lindelof, that if he wants to play the back 3, if Lindelof's not fit, it means going with Bailly, who I don't think he quite trusts, although Bailly played perfectly well on Tuesday. And then does he play Luke Shaw as a third centre-back and bring in Telles on the left?
Probably.
But he could have done that on Tuesday and didn't. After Varane was injured, he went to the back 4 again. So I don't know. You'd assume he'll stick with the back 3 if he possibly can, but it may be a very changed back 3 from last week.
Kind of felt like Wan-Bissaka could do a job on the outside of a back 3 and then play Dalot, who's probably more of a wing back than Wan-Bissaka is.
Yeah, the problem with that is I think Bailly likes to play on the right of the 3.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't trust Bailly in the middle. Could you play on the left? Possibly, but I just wouldn't trust
moving too much around.
Well, I just sort of think you then could have De Bruyne attacking him on his left foot. For back 3s, the weak point to me always seems that interface between the wide centre back and the wing back. And if you've got your centre back playing on the wrong side, that's going to be even weaker. So I don't know. Maybe he will do that, and I think you're right. I think Wan-Bissaka could play on the right of it. I'd have more faith in Shaw doing it in this particular instance.
I mean, let's face it, it could be 4-2-4. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. It literally could be anything. Martin, Super Jackie Grealish, no flack when he was an Aston Villa player. Aston Villa fans gave him no jip whatsoever, and we are certainly missing him right this second. But he is taking flack for Manchester City. I've got to say, I'm a little bit confused about it, but I'm not sure why he's getting stick.
Yeah, well, he's taking it. I think you'd expect it from from neutrals who are sort of keen to dig into him after just because of the size of the fee, and I guess that plays a part in City fans as well. But I don't know, maybe we're getting caught up in the sort of social media fans, but there is a lot of sort of criticism for him, and I agree. I don't really think it's justified. He's definitely not been at his best, but he's not been poor either, and I wouldn't say he's been the main concern for Man City either. I think.
Do you think his lack of goals and assists?
Yeah, and he's played well in the Champions League, but yeah, he's lacking that sort of end product which he'd picked up last season. Like, we should say he hasn't always had that. Like, last season was his first season really when he was actually good in front of goal in terms of goals and assists, and like strong. And this season he's regressed a little bit, but it will need time. City's front three is sort of interchangeable. I don't think that has really helped him to settle, but I think there are players at City. I think he's had his injury problems, but Kevin De Bruyne, I'd say for one, has had a very quiet start to the season. Obviously, City fans aren't gonna criticise Kevin De Bruyne, but I think there are players in that team who have started worse, and I think he's a pretty easy target. The stats aren't great, but they're not bad at all. Like, he's still got good stats, and a lot of them aren't a lot lower than he had at Villa. So his shots are only marginally down. His key passes are only marginally down. Still 3.2 key passes per 90 in all competitions, which is very, very good. The area where he sort of dropped off, his dribbles are much lower, and his dribble success is lower. And as we sort of suggested it would be at the start of the season, he's getting fouled a lot less, or he's winning a lot less fouls, or he's getting a lot fewer decisions from the referee. So his use of the ball in terms of carrying it has been worse, and I guess that's the frustration with Man City fans. His dribbling's not been great. He's not winning the fouls that he used to. So his fouls won per 90 has dropped from 4.5 at Villa to only 2.5, which is a high number, but it's no longer the sort of far and away the highest in the league. It's sort of fifth or sixth, I think. And he's also actually winning possession in the attacking third less often as well, which I guess is one of the more surprising ones given sort of Pep's pressing system. So maybe there's an element there that he's not quite clicking in terms of buying into the system just yet. But it is early days. I still think he's playing pretty well. He's just not at the levels that we came to expect, certainly last season.
He's missing being in Villa's famed press, Martin.
That's it.
That's what he's missing. The Villa press is more successful than the Pep press over the years. What have you made of him, Jonathan? Because I thought he was going to play more in the middle for Man City.
Yeah,
that's what Pep said as well.
That's a slightly odd thing. That was definitely the message we were getting out there in the summer. And I think when he has played as the false nine, it hasn't really worked. So just to pick up on a couple of those stats that Martin mentioned, I think his dribble success rate being lower, you would expect, because he's playing against teams who are sitting deeper, so there's less space to run into. I think naturally the way City play, he's going to dribble less. I think that was always going to be a stat was going to drop, and I think to an extent that might be part of the issue at the minute. That I think he's so determined to fit into the system. I think occasionally he takes the safe option rather than maybe taking a man on.
Yeah,
and Pep himself talked about this after the Palace game, saying that he felt he would become more confident as time goes by, and saying that we shouldn't judge him at this stage, judge him after 4 or 5 years, which I think is fair, because if you look at other wide players, I say wide players, I mean sort of forwards who can play wide, maybe is a better way of putting it, who've gone to City in recent years, Sane, Mahrez, Sterling, there's one other as well, who's the other one? Torres, I still feel I've missed somebody. Bernardo Silva, have all been better in their second season than their first. Yeah. So it does take time to learn the system. The fact he's not winning the ball back as often, I think partly that will be because City have the ball more, so you don't need to win it back as often. It's partly, and this is I think to do with his interaction with João Cancelo. And there's a very odd stat that Cancelo's had more touches in the final third this season than Grealish has, albeit having played, I think, about a game and a half more in total, and total minutes. And Cancelo plays in quite an unusual way for fullback, because he tends to come inside. He plays sort of as an auxiliary playmaker rather than overlapping, which he would have had with Matt Targett at Villa. So I think learning how to work with a fullback like that is... it is something he has to learn. It is something very different. And one of the things you have to do when you have a fullback who goes beyond you is, and I guess particularly when he's going inside, you have to hold your position so that you can't be counted against. So that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to win the ball there, but just by being there, he helps funnel the opposition counter into different areas. So you might be winning the ball back sort of indirectly, which obviously wouldn't register on stats. So I think you've got to take all that into account. Having said all that and agreeing that I don't think there's any reason for panic at all, I think it's telling that he's been taken off when City have been chasing the game against PSG, against Liverpool, against Palace. And I think there is a sense that he does at times slow the game down slightly. And again, I think that's a matter of time. I think it probably will come. So yeah, it's by no means disastrous, but I don't think he's beyond criticism. I don't think it's unreasonable to express after 10 games, of which he started 9. It's not unreasonable to sort of say, well, these things aren't quite working yet.
He does like a derby game, though, Martin. Might come alive in the derby. As long as no fans are running on and hitting him in the head.
Whether this derby means anything to him, I don't know. But yeah, that was very interesting insight, Jonathan. I must say, I was enthralled by that. Do you want to do a monologue about tackle success and try and make it more interesting than mine? Because
nobody can make that interested. Absolutely nobody can make that interested.
There will be a preview based on Grealish in Saturday's Guardian. So
there we go.
But it's actually looking at Grealish v Sancho, because I sort of think that they've joined the wrong clubs.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting shout.
I completely agree.
No, that's maybe being unfair on Grealish, because I suspect he will in time adapt. But he was used to being the sort of creative hub. He was used to working things out for himself. But it's not to say that there was no structure at Villa, but he had a lot of freedom to interpret his own role. And at City, he's very much having to learn a system, learn a structure. Were he at United, it'd be go and get on with it and work it out.
Yeah, no tactics.
Whereas Sancho is the opposite. He's come from Lucien Favre's Dortmund, where it was very structured, where other players moved, conditioned where he moved, and he knew if he went somewhere, other players would move accordingly. They were very set moves. And suddenly he's at United, where here's Ronaldo, who we didn't expect to sign until like 6 hours before we signed him. And we haven't got any system. We haven't got any structure. There'll probably be a fullback behind you who's getting exposed all the time. Don't know if you want to worry about that. We don't know either. And we're taking you off and putting you back on. And you've only started 3 games and you've been taken off in all 3 of them. And it's all chaos.
Yeah. And there's a space next to Donny van der Beek on the bench for you.
Yeah. Well, I hope the 2 of them get on, because I suspect they're going to be spending a lot of time together the rest of this season.
Yeah, I'd have thought so. It'd be sensible to make them roommates, really, wouldn't it? Does Jack Grealish make the combined 11, Martin?
He does. He does. Like I said,
it can't be that bad, then, can it? It can't be that bad if you're in the Who scored 11.
He's got a good rating. It's like statistically, he's still been pretty strong. Obviously, the goals and assists aren't there yet, but yeah, I suppose he's not up against a hell of a lot at Man United this season. But there are 3 United players in the 11. We're starting goal. It's not a Man United player. It is Ederson. This is based on league ratings this season. So, yeah, Ederson pips De Gea, who I think has done a lot of his sort of better work in the Champions League, but that wasn't the case in midweek. Wan-Bissaka is actually the right back over Walker, which might come as a surprise. Walker's not had a strong season statistically in our ratings at all. So
his defending for the second goal was embarrassing the other day against Palace.
It was.
Where was he going?
Yeah. But yeah, so it's Wan-Bissaka at right back, Varane at centre back. Obviously now he's injured. Diaz is his partner, not Maguire. Funnily enough, Maguire has been shocking, like really worryingly bad over the last, since he come back from injury. I don't think he's fit, but there you go. Cancelo left back, as you'd expect. Rodri and Gundogan in the double pivot. There's no room for De Bruyne. Fernandes gets the spot as the 10, and then it's Bernardo Silva. We've got him on the right, Grealish on the left, and Gabriel Jesus ahead of Ronaldo up front, based on league ratings.
No Foden.
No Foden. No, based on league ratings. Again, I think he's another one of those who's got quite a few of his goals in the cup and the Champions League. Obviously, he had that incredible game against Liverpool, but he's also had a couple of sub appearances as well, which probably impacted his rating a little bit as well. So
I did see it would have been him in the comments about Foden last week, actually, not being in the player of the month. I think it was no player of the week. It must have been that we did last week. The form guides, I don't know what they're called. The power rankings. What are they called?
form rankings, whatever you like.
That was all. There was a bit of a kick-off in the comments that he wasn't there.
He
our whole podcast was a joke because Foden wasn't.
He wouldn't qualify for what it's worth for the form rankings.
There we go.
Because he wouldn't have enough games over a certain amount of time. Wouldn't have started enough games over a certain amount of time.
Jonathan, what have you done in 11?
I have. It's all City players, which is actually not that easy to work out what City's first 11 would be. I mean, I kept De Bruyne in purely on sort of sentimental grounds. I sort of remember him being really, really good, and I assume he will be good. I mean, for what it's worth, Ederson, Walker, Stones, because Laporte obviously is out. Diaz, Cancelo, Rodri, Gundogan, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Foden as the false nine, and Grealish on the left.
Yeah, Man City's team. Pepper's manager.
Yeah.
Pepper's
Are you sure?
Tiki Beverstan as the director of football. And
one thing you can say for Solskjaer is, like Jonathan said earlier, like what he did well in the past was setting up well defensively for these sort of games, and he does have the best win rate of any manager against Pep Guardiola. He's got a 50% win rate from 8 games, won 4 of 8 games of the 31.
Should be said, one of those was a League Cup semi-final second leg where they got absolutely battered in the first leg.
It was, yeah, it was. But still,
even and also there was that 3-2 win at the Etihad, having been 2-0 down when the title was already decided, and they suddenly scored 3 times about 15 minutes in the second half because everybody'd gone to sleep.
It's all about results, though, Jonathan. Still, even if it were 3 wins out of 8, it'd still be a pretty decent record.
I'm saying it's 2, but yeah, okay.
But yeah,
two wins out of 6.
Klopp is the closest behind him in terms of win rate, with about just over 40% win rate against Guardiola from a lot more games, obviously. And third is Nuno with 37.5%.
Surely Patrick Vieira is top, isn't
he? Yeah, I did look at, had to have met 5 times. So, I think there's 48 managers. Fair. Yeah.
I'm not sure saying it's a results business in defence of Solskjaer is something that's going to catch on, Martin. Honestly, I don't see that catching on at all. Have we got a bet builder for this one?
We do have a bet builder, and guess who's in it?
Maguire yellow card.
Maguire yellow card is in there,
hasn't it?
It is in it. We've done 2. The last 2 Man United bet builders we've done, he hasn't been in it for what it's worth, but there was just no not putting him in it this week because his record against Man City in terms of yellow cards is actually remarkable. In his last 8 league meetings with Man City, he's been booked in 7 of them. He's only not been booked once in his last 8. Been booked 9 times against City in total, which is 4 more than against any other team. So he looks nailed on.
Have you got anything about his tackle success rate in the Manchester United?
I can look into it for you, but I assume it is not great. I'm just going to go that far. So we also have both teams to score. United haven't kept a clean sheet at home all season. City have conceded in 4 of their last 5 away games. I think there'll be goals at both ends. Ronaldo to score, just based on he is on fire in front of goals, isn't he? He deserves credit. His 9 goals this season, they've all been like decisive goals, so to speak. They've either been goals to take the lead, equalising goals, or goals to they've either been goals to take the lead, equalise, or win matches, basically.
Decisive
so 9 goals. Decisive goals, yeah. So 9 goals in 10 starts. He's basically saving Solskjaer's job, isn't he, so far? Whether that's a good thing for United fans, I don't know. But we've got Ronaldo.
Hang on, sorry. How many United goals this season have not been decisive goals? How many games? Apart from the 3rd and 4th goals against Newcastle and the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th against Leeds, have they won any of the games by more than 1?
It's a good question, Jonathan. I don't know off the top of my head. Anyway, Ronaldo to score, both teams to score. Maguire carded and Rodri carded. He's been booked in 3 of his last 5 against Man United. So that's been boosted from 24-1 to 28-1 by BetVictor this week.
I'll be doing that, but changing Rodri to Fred.
Okay.
That'll be what I'll do. Thank you. I'll have a go at that. Right, our predictions for this game. I've completely forgotten what mine is. I'm going to have to get my phone out to have a look. But you can go first, Jonathan. Okay, you go first, Martin. That's fine.
Sorry.
Or who scored?
We've got 3-1 to Man City, obviously, to go in line with our bet builder.
Yeah, okay. 3-1 to Manchester City.
What have I done? I can't even find it. I've gone 2-0 to Manchester City. Comfortable day's work for Man City. It should be Saturday lunchtime. Let's move on now to Everton against Tottenham. Now we're talking, Jonathan. Conte. I like a bit of Conte. I always get carried away with managers getting new jobs around this time of the season. I think I did it a little bit with Tuchel last season. Although that was a good shout, but Conte into Spurs, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think he's comfortably one of the top 10 managers in the world at the moment, and for Spurs to get him is a coup. He's got significant limitations with the squad he's going to have to work with, but if they need somebody to sort of give them a real jolt and sort of try and wake them out of the stagnation they've been in really for 2.5 years now, I think Conte is the ideal man. So, and given his past history, his past record, whatever the club are saying now, and it's totally logical that they should say this, I can't believe they won't have money to spend in January and next summer. I think, I just don't think Conte would have taken the job without those guarantees.
Got to get Victor Moses involved at Spurs. I think he's Spartak Moscow. Victor Moses. He must fancy a move back to England. He must not be happy there.
Lucas Moura. Lucas Moura,
the wing back.
Yeah, 100%. Go all over him. Great work rate. Ridiculously good in the air for some reason as well. Lucas Moura, right wing back. I'm saying it now.
Yeah, he'll go to 3 at the back. Won't he? How do you think Spurs will? What will Spurs look like under Conte, Martin?
I think he'll try and line them up pretty similar to how he did at Inter, rather than sort of the 3-4-3 at Chelsea. I think he will go with a 3-5-2. Personally, the Kane Son, personally,
The collection of midfielders though is just so ordinary. Yeah,
I know, but that kind of means that it's better to have strength in numbers in that area, isn't it? If rather than having a 2, I don't think that a 2 in midfield is strong enough. I don't think they've got a good enough sort of midfield base. Højbjerg's obviously a good player, but I think ideally in that system, Conte would probably want Højbjerg to be a sort of an enforcer, sort of higher up the pitch. I don't think he'd want him to be the sitting midfielder. I think it's those positions in midfield are the ones that are sort of up for grabs, so to speak. Højbjerg's obviously pretty nailed on. For what it's worth, he was interested and he did have a liking for Ndombele while he was at Inter. He tried to sign Ndombele at Inter, so I'd imagine he will play. It's the other one, isn't it? It's Lo Celso, Skip, and I even think Harry Winks could, if he can remember how to play football, because it has been a while, he could come back into it, because I think the Brozovic role, so to speak, at Inter is someone who can pass, keep the ball, pass forwards. Brozovic, incredibly underrated player. I don't think that is Højbjerg necessarily. So I think there might be a role in the sort of middle of that midfield for a Winks, possibly a Skip, but we'll see. And the other one, I guess, that's up for grabs is the third centre back alongside Romero and Dyer. Whether that's, I think it might be Tanganga on the right of a 3 rather than Sanchez, but we'll see. Davies obviously an option to play on the left of a 3 as well. Done it plenty of times for Wales. Didn't play well for what it's worth against United. But yeah, I think the Kane-Son partnership as a 2 is something he'll look to emulate what he did with Lukaku and Martinez to an extent, I think, because they were sensational.
Interesting. Would you go along with that, Jonathan? Some good analysis on the podcast this week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. That may well be true. I think there is a possibility he goes with the 3-4. I think it's more of a 3-4-2-1.
Yeah,
and I think the Son Kane partnership, when it's been at its best, has been with Son coming off the left. Yeah, certainly last season, he was coming off the left. You had Bale or whoever on the right. So I think he may try and resurrect that, and then use Ndombele or Lo Celso as the right of those 2 sort of inside forwards behind Kane. But it could equally be a more sort of orthodox 3-5-2, and I agree it'll be Højbjerg plus somebody to pass it, which probably does look like Winks at the minute. Which, if he were to recover form.
They'll sign someone though, won't they? They're linked to Brozovic. Well, they're linked to pretty much every Inter player. They're linked to the entire back 3. They're linked to Brozovic. I think the one that's probably closest is Kessie from Milan, whose contract's up in the summer. I think they'll try and get him in January. That looks like it could be relatively close. I don't think he's that player either, for what it's worth. I don't think he's that sort of passer.
He's a more dynamic, he's a more Højbjerg type player,
Yeah. But I think they'll look to get maybe 2 of them either side of a passer. So I could see them going for Brozovic, but potentially looking for an alternative. Someone.
And the other players, of course, is Dele Alli, who could play
as
the right of those 2 inside forwards. I just don't know what's happened. It's so sad. And you think 3 years ago he was so good, and now he's just a ghost.
I think it's that he's just lost his edge, hasn't he? I thought like the whole thing about Dele Alli was he had that sort of bit of bite about him, just haven't seen it for years. He isn't. Yeah, the sort of verve has gone from his game, both in an attacking standpoint, but also defensively. He's just not got that aggression to his game anymore.
I've always thought he was pretty overrated, even when he was doing well. Whenever I see him, there's nothing. There is literally nothing. He does nothing. He's a ghost on a football pitch.
I mean, the one thing you would say that might be in his favour is he came through and he thrived under Pochettino. He's then had two managers in Mourinho and Nuno who don't play that pressing game.
True.
And Conte will press, and so he will need aggressive figures in that midfield. So if Ali can be re-inspired, that does feel more his natural sort of game. But the fact is, his form had dipped at the end of Pochettino. It's not. It's not Mourinho's fault in that his decline.
Let's have a little look at Everton then. Benitez suddenly under a little bit of pressure. Jonathan, not looking good for them at the moment, although I do think they've got injuries in key positions, because when they had a fully fit side, they looked okay under Benitez. Yeah,
I mean, they started really well. They got 14 points from the first 7 games, which is actually better than they did first 7 games last season. Under Ancelotti, when everybody was getting very excited about the team with hammers and everything. So I think it is those injuries. To lose Calvert-Lewin, to lose Alan Doucouré at various times, it's sort of taken out that spine. Salomon Rondon, I'm a huge fan of, but he looks old now. I don't think he's quite the player he was 3 or 4 years ago at Newcastle. And Michael Keane's having a shocker. Just seems to, every time I watch Everton play at the minute, he's too deep and that's causing huge problems. So, what is it? Three defeats and a draw from the last 4 games, and that weird capitulation against Watford, which 4 goals in 12 minutes against Watford just seems so bizarre. But I mean, I don't know. Benitez clearly is a good manager. You would assume that it will sort itself out, particularly when players return.
Will he get less time, Martin, because of his previous managerial links?
Possibly, yeah. I think so. It will rely on sort of if he loses 2 or 3 more games in a row. They've lost 3 in a row as it stands, haven't they? I think. Yeah. If he were to lose 2 or 3 more in a row, and this is a tough game, isn't it, in Conte's first game in charge, then even though there are clear reasons behind it, Doucouré is a huge miss, I think.
He was unbelievable at the start.
Obviously, Calvert-Lewin. He's been without Richarlison as well. He's only just come back, so it's not had it easy at all. But yeah, if he were to lose 5, 6 games in a row, the fans, a lot of them who aren't pro Benitez already, are really, really going to turn, and that will have an impact eventually. I don't think he's under immediate pressure, but yeah, it's bound to have some sort of impact.
If Benitez doesn't work there, Ancelotti, okay, he left because he got the Real Madrid offer, but it wasn't a great season last season. Particularly their home form was terrible last season. It sort of feels like they've cycled through every different type of manager. You look at their signings; they feel like quite good signings. People like Doucouré, like Andre Silva, Andre Gomez. Who do I mean?
Yeah, Andre Gomez.
Yeah, Andre Gomez.
So if it's people like Doucouré, Andre Silva, Luca Dean. But you look at their side.
We've got the bloopers reel now.
We finally broke him.
Yeah, their signings have been good. People like Doucouré, Andre Gomez, Luca Dean. Yeah, they're high quality players. It's hard to see how they could get players at a significantly higher level than that, and yet that's still only enough to sort of be knocking about 8th. So I don't know. I wonder if there is that sort of ceiling for clubs like Everton. It's very hard to. Leicester may be the counter example of this, but it's very hard, even with fairly significant expenditure, to break through that to become a Europa League regular or to be challenging for the Champions League places.
Really should have been looking at a player like Andre Silva over the years for Everton.
Well, I mean, they are short of backup for Calvert-Lewin. That is true.
They are, yeah. It's a very good shout, Dan. Yeah.
Thank you. It wasn't a joke at all. I'm thrown out. Have we got the odds on the next manager to be sacked, incidentally, Martin? Because Benitez must be up there now. I've got a feeling I know who might be in front of him.
Dean Smith's right at the top. Yeah,
Benitez must be near.
Yeah, I think he's third favourite to be sacked at the moment. But yeah, it's still quite long odds.
Behind who? Solskjaer and Dean Smith?
Yeah, Solskjaer and Smith, I think it is.
Is Dean Smith now the favourite?
I believe so, yeah. I think.
Can I go for the as yet unappointed new Newcastle manager?
Yeah. Ranieri's got to be right up there as well. Surely Ranieri's in the mix.
He won't be there by Christmas, Ranieri. Absolutely no chance. Look a little bit about Harry Kane. England squad's been announced today. I mean, Harry Kane will absolutely be in it, although his form is absolutely rotten. But will Conte help him out, Jonathan?
I mean, I think there's a couple of things coming together, isn't there? There's slow starts of the season are so well known. Even when he's had injuries, it takes him a little while to get back into rhythm. And I think he needs games. Now, obviously, he has had games, but maybe his preparation for the season was hampered by the fact he came back to pre-season late. There's a lot of, Declan Rice is pretty much the only exception to this, but a lot of the players who played for England at the Euros have had poor starts to the season. So all of that, plus speculation, plus the general sort of sense of drift at Spurs. He probably hasn't been getting the service he's had in previous years. I think there's a whole load of reasons why he isn't performing. A new manager, new shot of life, new direction, new emphasis on pressing. I think all of that should work for him. So I'd be amazed if he didn't start scoring pretty soon. Maybe not in the next week or two, but certainly before Christmas.
Yeah, might get running the Europa Conference tonight, possibly. Get some goals ahead of the weekend. Let's quickly do our predictions for this game, then we're going to look at the England squad. But I've gone for 1-0 to Tottenham. I can't say 1-0. Jonathan?
2-1 to Tottenham.
And Martin, who scored?
2-0 to Tottenham.
2-0 to Tottenham. As we just alluded to, the England squad is announced today. I mean, I didn't allude to it at all. I outright said it, so I don't know why I used the word alluded. But have we got a best English 11 ahead of the squad announcement, Martin?
We do, and it is experimental, to say the least. I think
we should say that probably none of these players will be in the squad.
Yeah, basically, based on what Jonathan said, though, I think it is a slight concern that England's probably their three most important players over the last sort of few years are all in properly rotten form, like the worst form of their careers. You're looking at Maguire, Sterling, obviously scored in the week, but having real troubles at Man City, and Kane. They're all having terrible seasons, and there aren't many England players, England regulars, having great seasons. Luke Shaw's having a poor season. Grealish has sort of dropped off a little bit, but
Saka's doing okay.
He's doing okay, but I don't think Saka's been incredible. I think Smith Rowe.
I think he's had a pretty slow start of the season.
Yeah, I think Smith Rowe's the one who's really caught the eye for Arsenal.
He'll be in the squad.
Yeah, he'll be one to look out for. I think there's a few names that do actually have a chance this time of breaking in, just because the form of some of them is so poor. But yeah, our England 11, top-rated England 11 this season, based on league ratings throughout Europe, are all 25 and under, which is quite nice. It points to success for the future, hopefully. Aaron Ramsdale is the goalkeeper, perhaps unsurprisingly, and I think there are calls for him to sort of start pushing Pickford. I don't think that will happen just yet, but he's playing very well. Ramsdale in goal, Trent at right back over Reece James, who's also had a great season. So obviously we know there's no shortage of right backs, but Trent at right back. It's Chalobah at centre back alongside, and this is a blast from the past, even though I think he's still only 23, Reece Oxford of Augsburg, who's having a very good season in the Bundesliga at Augsburg. He partners Chalobah at centre-back, Ben Chilwell left-back, unsurprisingly, after his recent run of form. The midfield three I like. It's Declan Rice, who's having probably, undoubtedly, I'd say the best season of his career so far. And he's got Conor Gallagher and Jude Bellingham alongside him in a three. Those two look ones for the future. I think Gallagher could be a look in before too long. And then the front three is Jared Bowen on the right, Dwight McNeil on the left, just ahead of Grealish, and Ivan Toney up front, which really points to the fact that the strikers for England at the moment, obviously Calvert-Lewin's injured, Watkins not firing, Bamford's injured, Tammy's gone quiet now in Roma, hasn't scored for quite a while. So the strikers are really thin on the ground in terms of quality at the moment, or in terms of being on form. But yeah, I'll just run through it really quickly again. Ramsdale, Alexander-Arnold, Chalobah, Oxford, Chilwell, Rice, Gallagher, Bellingham, Bowen, McNeil, and Ivan Toney. He holds up the play very, very well for Brentford whenever he plays. He's a good sort of connecting striker. But yeah, his ratings dropped substantially over the last few weeks, but it's still enough to keep him in it, just because the competition in that regard is so weak at the moment.
Thought the new Yaya Toure, Ruben Loftus-Cheek might have had an outside chance of making the team, probably on the bench. Jonathan, Happy with that for England?
Yeah, well, it's not actually. My team's not actually that dissimilar. And the area, I mean, centre forward, yes, but also centre back had a real problem finding players. So I've gone Ramsdale, Alexander-Arnold, Chilwell. Then the centre backs, I had 4: Dunk, Kilman, Tarkowski, Chalobah, and I think I end up with Tarkowski and Chalobah of those 4. Then Rice, Gallagher, Bellingham, Andros Townsend on the right, Foden as a false 9, and Mount on the left.
Yeah, but Tamora didn't make it of the teams. He's not having a good time in Milan.
No, he is having Milan are having a very good season in Serie A, aren't they? I think they've won 10 of 11 games. But yeah, he's having a good season, but just not outstanding. Yeah, Reece Oxford for England, I'm calling.
Not doing enough for the Who Scored algorithm.
Not doing enough. Not quite.
Come on, Tamora, get it together.
He'll pick up now. Now he knows.
Yeah. Let's look at West Ham v Liverpool. Then good game. This will be. Obviously, I saw West Ham in the flesh on Sunday. Jonathan, Declan Rice. Honestly, he was incredible. I mean, Villa gave him the most amount of respect that I think he'll be given all season. Didn't get near him. But he's added a few things to his game this season. He's not a box-to-box midfielder, but he's getting forward and looking like he might score more goals than he has done in previous seasons. But the thing that struck me with him is he looks quite awkward when he runs. He actually takes such long strides. He's really, really quick.
I hadn't noticed that, but I'll take your word for it.
You see him in the flesh, Jonathan. You'll be. This guy knows football. That's a good shot down
that. Yeah, I mean, I hope. I mean, this might sound weird, but I hope he doesn't get too obsessed with scoring goals. Because I think that box-to-box type player doesn't really exist in the modern game. Certainly at the very highest level, I think there's a very distinct band between being a holding midfielder and being an attacking midfielder. And I think one of the reasons Pogba often struggles to fit into sides is that he sort of does a bit of each, and you have him doing one or the other, and you always feel like you're not getting the best out of him, or he looks slightly awkward doing it. So I hope he does remain sort of a defensive midfielder who occasionally gets forward and gives you that option. But yeah, he said last season that he felt he could add goals to his game and he could get forward more, and now he's doing it. So it's a fair play.
Him and Souček. Unbelievable partnership in midfield. Certainly one of the best in the world. I would actually say that as a midfield too. I don't think that's an outlandish shout, Martin. You can make your little noise. They're incredible.
Yeah, right. For what it's worth, Rice's stats across the board are up like substantially. I think what it shows is like his attacking stats are up, but also his defensive stats as well. So his tackles are up from 1.8 per 90 last season to 2.6. Interceptions are up. Also, fouls are up. They've more than doubled, which might sound like a bad thing, but it just points to the fact that in every aspect of the game, he's just being a lot more aggressive, a lot more sort of front foot. He's on the ball a lot more, averaging 62.6 passes per 90 this season compared to 48.7. Points to the fact that David Moyes is actually establishing quite a nice way of playing at West Ham. They're not necessarily a team that just sits back. They're very organised. They know what they're doing. 91.8% pass accuracy. He's keeping the ball, more key passes, more dribbles. Yeah, you can't really question him at the moment. He is one of the best sort of holding midfielders around at the moment. And still, 20? Is he still 22? It just seems like he doesn't age. Seems like he doesn't age. So, yeah, a massive, massive future ahead of him if he continues on this sort of scale of sort of rise.
What I've noticed, and this is a great way to judge a footballer by, since his trim's got less dead, he's got become better.
Since his trim has got less dead.
As his hair has become more trendy.
Christ.
I would say.
How old are you, Dan? Since 36. His trim's become less dead.
Since he's had a better trim, Declan Rice.
Got a 15-year-old.
His game is getting better. Honestly, go back and look at his hair when he used to have it short. It wasn't as good. Now, I'm telling you, that's the barometer to measure a player.
I enjoyed that zoom on Jonathan.
We'll move on from the haircut talk. No one obviously agrees with that. Talking of midfields, Martin, do you think Liverpool's lack of a depth in midfield will cost them the time? I mean, Thiago came back last night, which is a positive for them. They're picking up injuries there. It really replaced Wijnaldum. That's the area, if anywhere, where they're going to get caught short.
Yeah, it's a strange one because they don't look short in midfield if all their players are fit, but it is an issue that the likes of Fabinho, the likes of Thiago, even Henderson have picked up, and Naby Keita as well, have picked up injuries consistently for best part of a year, 18 months now. It's interesting that since the start of last season, the player to have started, the midfielder to have started the most league games for Liverpool is Gini Wijnaldum. And he left in the summer, so there's been 10 games this season. So he's still got the most starts of Liverpool midfielders since the start of last season. So it does point to the fact that they are being unfortunate in that area. And obviously centre-back was the issue last season, wasn't it? And it does look like central midfield could be a slight issue this season. But yeah, if the players are all fit, then I think they're absolutely fine there personally. But there are concerns that there are long-term issues with some of those players picking up niggling injuries.
Do you think Thiago suits the 4-3-3, Jonathan, for Liverpool? I almost feel like he's better as the deepest midfielder, dictating from deep. But that, obviously Fabinho, a different role, but he plays as the deepest midfielder. I almost feel like it doesn't suit him.
I think he was brought in probably to try and add a bit of control. I think if you look at the development of tactics over the last decade, you had the very possession-heavy football of Barcelona, and that was then challenged by. So that was football that focused on retaining the ball. Then you get the Klopp and the German school of regaining the ball, and it's incredibly high tempo, it's incredibly percussive. And just as we've seen Guardiola moving slightly more towards that model, and being slightly less possession-oriented than he was a decade ago, I think also you've seen Klopp take a step into the more middle ground. The signing Thiago was an attempt to allow Liverpool to just control the ball and sort of kill games with possession, rather than being hell for leather, high tempo for 90 minutes. But just with the injuries, we haven't really had a chance to see that yet. No. The injuries both to Thiago and all the issues they had last season and again this season. So I assume that was the logic in signing him, was to give them that extra option that certainly the last 20, 30 minutes of games when they're 2 goals up, they could just keep it, hold it, knock it about and calm everything down rather than having that high attrition rate they had before. Whether that's true, I don't know. But and we won't find out until they get a long run when they don't have injuries and are actually picking a midfield by choice rather than by who's available.
Thiago, on the injury front, he's a player who's suffered with them throughout his career, isn't he? Like, his entire career has been hampered by injuries. And Wijnaldum was that player that they could rely on to be fit every week. I guess that's just what they don't have.
Give us the bet builder for this one, Martin.
Yeah, so we've got both teams to score. I think a lot of people fancy that. Two teams that are playing very nice football at the moment. Both teams have scored in 7 of their last 10 meetings. Liverpool have actually scored at least twice in 9 of those 10 games. So West Ham are looking better since that run, I guess, but they will be confident. One player who will be very confident and always is Mo Salah. Another regular in the Who Scored bet builders, but for good reason. And again, this week for very good reason. He scored 9 goals in 8 appearances against West Ham. So in those 8 games, he's only failed to score against West Ham once. So he scored in 7 of 8 appearances. We've got Rice to be carded, and it points to the fact that what I was saying about him being a lot more aggressive this season. He has been booked more times in the league this season than over the entirety of last season. And he's also been booked in each of his last 3 meetings with Liverpool. And then the final leg of the bet is there to be 12 plus corners in the game. These 2 teams rank 4th, West Ham are 4th and Liverpool 1st for corners taken this season, respectively. West Ham averaging just over 6 per game, Liverpool just over 8 per game. So we've got 12 plus corners. So both teams to score, Salah to score, Rice carded, 12 plus corners, exactly the same as the Manchester Derby boost from 24-1 to 28-1. And if you do get involved, please gamble responsibly.
One of our bet builders came in last week, did they?
They did not. No, they did not. I think one of them was very close again, but I can't remember.
On a difficult run at the moment. We are suffering.
Well, bet builders are notoriously difficult to land, but we're coming very close. One's coming, I can sense it.
Let's have you score then from the Who Scored perspective, the prediction, Martin.
Our prediction is 2-2 for this one.
2-2, interesting. Mm-hmm. Jonathan?
1-1.
1-1. I've gone a bit niche. West Ham 2, Liverpool 3. Goals in this game. That is niche.
I think the last time you predicted 3-2 was Burnley Norwich. And
I did.
That was 0-0.
Could be 0-0 on Sunday quite easily. We move on now to the just a minute section. So, Jonathan, we start with you. Friday night's big game, Southampton against Villa.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. Because I got confused by the script, I've done loads of these.
No worries.
So let me just find Southampton v Villa. There we are.
Some news just in for you on the injury front for Villa that's just flashed up on my phone that might help you with what you're going to say. Ings, Louise, and Traore are all out.
Villa obviously in a terrible run at the minute. After they got that win at Old Trafford, which maybe wasn't quite as good a result as it looked at the time. They lost 4 in a row. I saw them at Tottenham, which was the game after that, and was amazed by how bad they were. Thought we were just having a bad afternoon, but it's carried on. Probably a bit unlucky in the game against Wolves. But I think the big worry as well is they've conceded 10 in the last 3 of those. The back three's been binned, but still with back 4, still letting 4 last week. Load of injuries with Traore, Ings, Douglas Luiz, and Ramsey all out. Konsa obviously suspended after last week. Southampton without Broja. They've only actually lost 3 times this season, Southampton, but they had a lot of draws. And I think there is a sense they are playing a bit better. Still, goals are a problem. They only scored more than 1 in 2 games this season, but they have kept 4 clean sheets. So I'm going to go for a Southampton win 2-1.
Makes sense. I mean, the good news for Villa is that Southampton have won the last 2, just in time for Villa to rock up into town. What's the Who score prediction, Martin?
We've gone for 2-1 Southampton, and it's got James Ward-Prowse goal written all over it.
Free kick. Loves a free kick against Villa.
We for what it's worth, we have got a little boost on that as well. I just fancied it. I was like, Ward-Prowse is scoring. We went in for him multiple times before he signed a new long-term contract. So Ward-Prowse to score and be carded. He was booked in both meetings last season. Been boosted to 16-1 to score and be carded, from 12-1 to 16-1. So yeah.
Takes the penalties as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Villa love giving away stupid fouls.
Oh, Villa are all over the place at the moment. Absolute shambles at the back. So with all that in mind, I've gone for Southampton 0, Aston Villa 1.
Perfect.
Makes complete sense.
Seems reasonable. Villa all over the place at the back. Clean sheet without Ezri Konsa yet.
1-1-0 last season at Saints. That's what I'm best.
That usually happens, doesn't it? That is an exact repeat of the fixture last season.
Villa won't lose 5 in a row, Martin. Come on. Just can't happen.
Okay. You have more confidence than me.
You move now to Brentford v Norwich.
Brentford have hit a slightly worrying spell, losing 3 in a row in the league, and the loss at Burnley, who hadn't won at Turf Moor in the league since January previous to that, was slightly concerning. They were all too easily breached defensively, though it's only the second game all season that they've actually had a lower XG than their opponents. Vitaly Anelt has been missed and he's back fit, so that should help, while Brian Mbeumo was dropped but should return after a sort of forgettable performance from Marcus Fors. Norwich showed signs of life against Leeds last time out, but having equalised just 2 minutes after conceding, they proceeded to concede again 2 minutes later. Daniel Farke continues to overlook Billy Gilmour to the dismay of Chelsea fans. The Scot has actually now played more games for the national team than he has in the Premier League this season. Elsewhere, Todd Cantwell's nearing a return. He's been a big miss, not started since August. Canaries are still yet to score away from home in the Premier League all season, but they do have a very good record at Brentford. They're unbeaten in their last 6 trips to face the Bees. They'll see this as one of 4 winnable games this month, but Brentford will be keen to arrest their own run of defeats and should have the edge. So we've gone 1-0 to Brentford.
I've gone 2-0 to Brentford. Jonathan?
Yeah, 2-0 Brentford.
And I will say it's dismay of this podcast that Billy Gilmour's getting no football, because I've not mentioned him for about 4 weeks. Keep forgetting.
I'm trying to. The Just a Minute section, as long as he doesn't play, he'll get a mention every week. And then dismiss it.
Yeah, get him in that team. What have we got next then? We've got Jonathan talking about Chelsea v Burnley.
Chelsea got a lot of injuries at the moment, particularly going forward. So no Lukaku, no Werner, no Kovacic, no Mount. But they've won 6 of their last 7 and kept 5 clean sheets in the last 6, which I think there's a sense that after that little wobble against City and Juventus, they've regained that solidity which characterised them until the end of last season. The Malmo game on Tuesday, I think, did highlight their issues going forward. That although they were complete on top of that game, they only won 1-0. Burnley, I think, are the more interesting side here, in that they finally got their first win of the season last week against Brentford, but I think they have been playing a lot better than the results have suggested. Their issues being failing to score, haven't scored in 4 out of 10 this season, and they are 3 points adrift. And with Newcastle possibly investing heavily in January, they do need probably to put a bit of distance between them and Newcastle as soon as possible. Last season, Chelsea won this game 2-0. It was 3-0 at Turf Moor to Chelsea, and I think they'll win again. I'm going to say 2-1 to Tuchel's side.
I've gone to 3-1 Chelsea. Who scored?
2-0 to Chelsea.
2-0. Chelsea full house, unsurprisingly there. Martin, Crystal Palace against Wolves.
Yeah, the fact that Palace are still only 13th after their superb win at City last time out feels like a false position for a side that have let Leeds slip twice in injury time. Only Liverpool and Chelsea have lost fewer matches than the Eagles this season, with Vieira's more expansive approach not having come at any defensive cost thus far. Indeed, both managers have made superb starts in their new roles in transforming their new sides' playing styles very quickly. After victory over Everton, Wolves have now picked up 13 points from the last 15 available, which is the best run in the league over the last 5 games. Bruno Lage has no fresh injury concerns, though could look to Daniel Podence to complete his front three this time out. He scored in 2 of his last 3 against Palace. Elsewhere, Marçal is nearing a return to put pressure on Ryan Aït-Nouri, while Adama Traoré has fallen out of favour at a time when results have improved, so it doesn't look great for him. The last 4 meetings between these sides without a single away goal, so that the last 4 meetings have been won by the home team, without a single away goal in that time. After a slow start in front of goal, Wolves are clicking now, though, in attack, so it'd be a surprise not to see goals at both ends this time out. That's played out in 4 of each side's last 5 league games, and with both teams playing entertaining stuff this season, this should be no different. So I'm looking forward to this game. We're going Palace 2-1.
Yeah, snap, 2-1 Palace.
I've gone for a 1-1 draw this time round. Now, Martin, we've got a Saturday treble, haven't we now?
We do indeed. The who scored leg, for what it's worth, is Brentford to win 2-0 against Norwich, and that's mainly based on the fact what I said in the preview. Norwich still haven't scored an away goal all season, and Brentford obviously on a bit of a poor run at the moment, but I feel like they'll come good this week.
My leg was Benteke to score, which I nearly wasn't allowed. I had to beg to have that in because Martin said he might not start, but I think that lineup last week against Manchester City was tactical. Getting the legs in the front three. Benteke has been in good goal scoring form, and even if he doesn't start, I'd back him to come on and score from a set play.
And he is a streaky player.
He is a streaky player. That's very right. So yeah, I've gone for Benteke to score any time in my leg. Jonathan, you weren't allowed what you wanted either. Martin's really been harsh this week.
Yeah, I mean, at first I wanted Burnley plus 1.75 against Chelsea, but apparently that's too complicated. Then I wanted Burnley plus 1.5, and apparently we can't have Asian lines in this. So Burnley plus 2.
What are the odds, Martin?
So the treble, let's just remind, it's Brentford to win 2-0, Benteke to score any time, and Burnley to start with a plus 2 handicap, been boosted from 15-1 to 17-1.
Nice. Worth saying as well, it wasn't a blind Bardell last week. The only one that got it right, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're catching up. Yeah. We didn't recap the just a minute either.
I was going to do it at the end. Nice little ending for us.
Yeah, but football was wrong last week.
Yeah, it's been wrong for a while, to be fair. It's been wrong for about 4 or 5 weeks, I'd say.
I mean, I think I went for 5 1-1 draws and none of them came in.
I think you went for 6, Jonathan. I counted them back. I think you had 6 1-all draws.
6 1-1s and a 2-2.
I think so, yeah. It was bold.
Notice when we're recapping the week that I don't mess up the treble, we try and move off that quite quickly.
Tell us what you got right, Dan. Go on.
No, it's just Chelsea to keep a clean sheet. That was it. Your two teams didn't keep a clean sheet, did they? Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah, we had a win 0 treble. Yeah, Liverpool and Man City let us down.
More luck than judgment from me, let's be honest. Let's restart then. Let's restart with the just a minute section. I think we're at Brighton Newcastle for Jonathan now.
Yeah, I mean, talking of a lack of judgment, Newcastle's owners. I mean, this managerial search is an absolute farce. I mean, everybody you talk to in football says that there's just a lack of football expertise there. There's an issue that there appears to be 3 factions in the board, with the Staveleys, the Rubens, and the Saudis all pulling in different directions. And the fact that they went public on thinking they got Emery, and then it turned out that they hadn't actually signed anything, was all very odd. It now looks like Eddie Howe, but Eddie Howe and Emery are just totally different managers. So was the plan literally, let's get somebody we've heard of who'll actually come? I know Eddie Howe did well at Bournemouth, but he didn't do well at Burnley. And really, how many players are going to join the Eddie Howe relegation battle? So I think there's a lot of problems there. Brighton, despite having not won in 6, seem to be getting more and more praise as everybody's tipping Graham Potter for every job going. I think the return of Basuma after his knee injury is a big issue, though, and I think they will win this. And I'm going for them to win 2-0.
I've gone Brighton 2, Newcastle 1. Martin?
2-0. I feel like we've matched up with Jonathan in almost every result this week, but yeah.
Yeah. The only thing about Eddie Howe to Newcastle is that there's already a few ex-Bournemouth players there. That's the only logic I can think of. But
he also couldn't organise a defence at all. They were very leaky, and Newcastle this season are shambles at the back. So Eddie Howe wouldn't be the man I'd bring in to fix a defensive problem. That's for sure. I like the theory that they have to get a manager who's used to relegation back. Like they have to. Like it's imperative. Like they couldn't possibly go for someone who's never been involved in a relegation battle. Maybe because they're not terrible managers, but yeah.
I still think it might end up on Hodgson, for the rest of the season.
Let him rest.
He wants to. He's keen to get. He's always keen to get back in the game. He's right. He's always.
I don't know if he is now.
Yeah, I think that COVID break. He was talking a lot about how he was enjoying getting up in the morning and sitting on his balcony overlooking the Thames, reading a book.
Yeah,
and to be honest, that sounds a lot more fun than a Newcastle relegation.
It does, yeah. And he's a Palace fan, wasn't he? He'll just end on that.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I might have put some money on Hodgson to be the next Newcastle manager quite high odds. That might be why I'm touting it around. Arsenal-Watford, then the last one for you to preview, Martin.
Yeah, bottom of the league after 3 matches. Arsenal are now just 3 points off the top 4 after 10 and had Aaron Ramsdale to thank for their impressive 2-0 win at Leicester. Indeed, that was perhaps their first win of the season from a match that they weren't strong favourites, with Ramsdale producing 8 saves to keep the Foxes at bay, along with fellow newcomer Takahiro Tomiyasu. The ridiculed summer signing is yet to taste defeat for the Gunners and now being mooted as a competitor for Jordan Pickford's England spot. Watford couldn't follow up their impressive win at Everton up against Southampton. They had less than 39% possession against the Saints. Conceded the opening goal inside 20 minutes in each of Ranieri's first 3 matches. They'll need to make a much better start against an Arsenal side that have sprung out of the blocks of late, scoring 7 goals inside the first half an hour in their last 6. Unfortunately, Ranieri has an outrageously bad record against the Gunners. 18 meetings with the Londoners. The Italian has mastered 1 win, coming in the Champions League with Chelsea in 2004. His league record against Arsenal reads 11 games, 4 draws and 7 defeats. Stopping at Aubameyang will be key to improving on that awful record, with the Arsenal captain having scored 6 goals in 5 meetings with the Hornets. We think Arsenal will continue their fine form with a comfortable win, going 3-0 to Arsenal.
I've done the same, 3-0 to Arsenal. Jonathan?
2-1 to Arsenal.
2-1 to Arsenal. Interesting. Your final game then, Jonathan, is Leeds against Leicester.
So Leeds finally got their second win of the season last week, but they have only beaten Watford and Norwich, and I think they really have to be concerned there. Having said that, they are only a couple of wins from being comfortably lower mid-table, and I think where there is room for hope is that when you think of Bielsa sides, you think of them being poor defensively. If things are going to go wrong, it's going to be at the back. And that actually hasn't really been the case this season. In 10 games so far, they've scored 10, conceded 17. If you take out the games against United and Liverpool, so in 8 games, they then scored 9 and conceded 9, which suddenly doesn't look as worrying. If a defence is solid, then they are getting attacking players back from injury. Rafinha's back. They're still without Bamford. They're still without Koch. They're still without Ayling. But I think it is looking a more solid, better side than it was a couple of weeks ago. So there is hope there. Leicester, a lot of injuries. We're playing a lot better before the defeat to Arsenal. Fofana, Justin Albrighton still out. Doubt over Pereira, Perez, Maddison and Barnes. But I still think they'll probably have enough. And I'm going to go Leicester to win 2-1.
I've gone for 2-2. Martin, who scored?
Yeah, ditto, 2-2.
There's a lot of samesies this week again, isn't there? Yeah. We've got a Sunday treble, we have, haven't we?
We do have a Sunday treble, yeah.
Loving a treble this week.
Yeah, it's because there's 2 sets of games, of 3 games at the same time kickoff. So I like those for trebles. Our tip for this Sunday 2 p.m. treble is Aubameyang to score at any time against Watford based on that record that I cited in the preview.
Have I done one? I can't remember what I've done. what have I done?
Yeah, you have done one. Let me get it.
I was waiting for you to just read out the 3 then.
Spurs win 2-0 against Everton.
Spurs win 2-0. That was the one. Yeah, the Conte factor. And Jonathan?
I've gone for Leicester to win and both teams to score against Leeds.
Yeah,
And
big
what
odds
does that
on
come
this.
in as?
Very big odds. Yeah. So Aubameyang to score anytime, Leicester win with both teams to score, and Spurs to win 2-0. Was 34-1, now 39-1. So massive odds on that, I think. So
yeah,
definitely more tempted by that one than the Saturday one, I must say.
Yeah, that's going to be worth a go, I think. Let's end then with our predictions league, Martin. How did we all get on last week?
A much needed, decent, not an amazing week for Who Scored, but a much needed win for Who Scored last week. 9 points for Who Scored, so a good score. 2 correct scores in that. Dan with 7, decent score. So you put real pressure. I think you're only 1 behind Jonathan at the top now. Jonathan clinging on to top spot after only 4 last week. So yeah,
that was better than I thought. I thought I only had 1.
I think really.
Let's go back and check the math.
I think you had 4. Maybe you got a correct score that you didn't realise. I don't know, but yeah, you definitely had 4 when I did it. Anyway,
I was sitting there on the Saturday afternoon watching Sunderland conceding hatfuls against Rotherham, and seeing every result go wrong, just thinking this is a disaster. I've been exposed as the fraud I actually am.
No, yeah, I think. I've got you down as 4, so we'll stick with
I'll take that. That's fine. Yeah.
So you're 1 ahead. Who Scored now? Back within 5 of the lead, so it's got tighter again. We were 10 behind, so we needed that.
That's good. Interesting. We'll see where we are next week. And of course, will we be back next week, actually, because of the international break?
Good question. I genuinely haven't thought about it.
We might be back. We might be back. We might not. Look out. If you do want to find out, if you do care, then get your post notifications on and you'll find out if we are back, if we have a show next week, because as Martin just said, at the moment we're unsure what we're doing across the international break. Thanks ever so much for watching, and thanks to the guys for joining me as well. Have a great weekend, enjoy the football and stay safe.